Well, if you want just an inkling of an idea of why Max Verstappen is as good as he is, what makes him different perhaps from other Grand Prix drivers, from his peers, we saw it today on Friday in Abu Dhabi. Because let's face it, the championship's long been decided. It's a bit of a fun weekend. It's the last race of the year. Everybody desperate to get home, I guess, after a very long season. Max Verstappen, as the new 3-times world champion, every reason to be relaxed and just laid back and enjoying himself. Not a bit of it. This was a very strange Friday from Max's point of view because he didn't run at all in FP1. His car and Sergio Perez's car given over to the young drivers, as was indeed Charles Leclerc's Ferrari and several other, Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin, several others as well. And in FP2, there were 2 red flags, which effectively meant that as the cars rejoined the circuit, there were only 25 minutes of practice to go. So 25 minutes in total all day running for a driver like Max Verstappen. Even so, you'd still think he'd be fairly laid back. Not a bit of it. He was desperate to get out of the circuit as quickly as possible and to get as much information as he could from the car. The first inkling of what was going on was when Max complained about a Williams being pushed out in front of him whilst they were all still stationary in the queue, on the basis that really if you're not in line you should have to wait till everybody who is in line has left the pit lane before you push your car out. And then at the second restart after the red flag, he was annoyed that drivers like Lewis Hamilton and others were going relatively slowly out of the pit lane, which of course is their entire right so to do. And Max was passing 2 or 3 cars with 2 wheels over the white line going into the underpass, obviously after the speed limit zone, so that wasn't an issue. And it raised a question of whether or not you're allowed to do that. To my mind, obviously the white line as the pit lane is rejoining the racetrack, that is sacrosanct. You cannot put a millimetre of a tyre over that line. But I think before that, it is effectively racetrack, and going over the white line with 2 wheels of the car is effectively no different from going over the white line on any corner of the racetrack with 2 wheels of the car. So probably Max can get away with that. I would imagine he's going to get some sort of reprimand for just doing something that was a bit unnecessary and possibly not setting a great example for the younger generation. Anyway, as I say, that gives an insight as to Max's mentality. Yeah, the championship's over. Yeah, this is holiday time. But he wants to win this Grand Prix more than anything else in the world right now. And what was he doing? What was he rushing out to do? That was the other interesting thing. What was he going to do? What were Red Bull going to do with 25 minutes only to sort the car? What they did was run the medium tyre, whereas everybody else, just about everybody else, was running the soft, looking to get a balance on the soft tyre, looking to get a good lap, just to get a feel for the car and make sure it worked. But Red Bull focused on the medium tyre. And it showed up, in Max's case, quite a lot of bouncing with the car, which was obviously good information. But there's no telling how much fuel they had on board. Both Red Bull drivers went out on soft tyres right at the end. Max did a 24.9 and then a 25.0, just a shade slower than Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris had done earlier on soft tyres. And Sergio Perez a little bit slower than that. Max wasn't particularly happy with the car. So at this point, you got to say Red Bull probably already have a bit of a jump over everybody else on the basis that they've done quite a lot of laps on the medium tyre, probably with a reasonable amount of fuel on board. It was by no means a long fuel run when they're on the medium. The car wasn't right. But nonetheless, they've done that homework for a tyre that will probably be getting a lot of use on Sunday. But just quickly to go through the time, Charles Leclerc quickest in the Ferrari, 24.8, didn't run in FP1, so really good job by Charles, but he did focus completely on the soft tyre in that FP2, the foreshortened FP2 session. The Ferrari, obviously not bad at all around Abu Dhabi. The straight is a good one for them. The high-speed braking is a good one for them, but there is a medium to high speed change of direction section of the circuit and a couple of other quick corners as well. So on that basis, one could have said, nah, not the greatest of Ferrari circuits. And to some extent, that was borne out by Carlos Sainz, who had the first of the 2 big shunts in FP2. Massive accident, actually, going into the quick S's after turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Very, very fast change of direction. Absolutely flat. Probably, I guess, 6th gear. Really, really fast. He lost the back end going in and went off. He said immediately it was dirty air from a much slower car that was about 100 metres ahead of him, which in itself is a bit of an irony, is it not? Because this is year 2 now of the new generation Formula One cars, which have been designed purely to make sure that there isn't too much dirty air coming out of the back of the car, to make overtaking a lot more straightforward. And here was a very slow car putting out enough dirty air for Carlos Sainz to lose it in the middle of those fast S's. Well, that's what he said. It was interesting to hear an Alpine engineer say, yeah, but it looked like there was some sparks as well. He probably bottomed out. Ferrari may be running a bit too low through there to get the downforce that they've got. So Lando Norris, very good in the McLaren. He was P2, 24.8. Max Verstappen, when he did get onto the soft tyre right at the end, a little bit slower, but not particularly happy with the car. So obviously a lot more to come there. Valtteri Bottas continuing to show the impressive worth of the recent upgrades on the Alfa Romeo 25-0, as indeed did Guan Yu Zhou, who finished 7th in FP2, not running at all in FP1, so good performance from him as well, 25-2. Sergio Perez in the other Red Bull, 25-1. George Russell had a very good day, did a lot of laps in FP1. We'll get onto that in a minute, but also focused a lot on the medium tyre in FP2 and did an impressive run. Obviously, we don't know exactly how much fuel he had on board, but listen to this for a series of laps with fuel on board: 28.9, 28.4, 28.1, 28.1, 28.1. And that's not me just saying 28.1 gormlessly. That is 3 28.1s in a row from George Russell. So looking to be pretty comfortable with the balance of the car, you'd have to say, from that sort of consistency. Lewis Hamilton didn't run in FP1, but 25.3, good job. Pierre Gasly, 25.3 as well. Oscar Piastri, 25.3 in the other McLaren, looking good. Quickest in Sector 1 as well, very impressive. And Fernando Alonso also gave his car up in FP1 to the very impressive Felipe Drugovich, and he did a 25.3. So it's all pretty close. Let's have a look at the top speeds. They're not in order. Lando Norris, 3.22. Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin, 3.21. Oscar in the other McLaren, 3.23. So very close between those two teams. Valtteri Bottas a little bit quicker in the Alpha. He'll be pleased about that. 3.27. Max Verstappen 3.31. Sergio Perez 3.33. Very impressive top speeds from the Red Bulls. Although when those were recorded, they were running pretty closely. So probably there was a tow involved as well. But even so, without a tow, they're still looking very, very good, the Red Bulls, in terms of top speed. Pierre Gasly 3.27. Yep, the Alpines up there as well. And Charles Leclerc 3.31. That looked to be more genuine speed done on his own through the trap. So Ferrari very strong there. Daniel Ricciardo 3.25 in the AlphaTauri. And the Mercedes 3.22, 3.24. Not too bad. About level with McLaren and Aston Martin in this last race of the season. Esteban Ocon 3.25 in the other Alpine, and Lance Stroll 3.21 in the other Aston Martin. With FP1 characterised by many of the teams, including world champions Red Bull, using up their quota of young driver tests, not too many conclusions could be drawn from that. Just talking about the young drivers, first of all, most of them look pretty good. I mean, very, very difficult to compare them because they're out at different times, different fuel loads, different tyre runs, etc., etc. But you've got to say, as I've been saying for a long time now, Felipe Drugovich is the serious business. I'm surprised, to be honest, that Aston Martin gave him such a good run. First of all on the mediums, then on the softs, which is basically what Lance Stroll did. And he was as quick as Stroll on the mediums and quicker on the softs. So that's probably all we're ever going to hear of Felipe Drugovich, because the point I've been making from day one, even though he's paying quite a lot of money to Aston Martin for the privilege of being in this position, is that it will be incredibly annoying for the Stroll family to have this young guy coming in and showing up Lance. So what his future is there, I have no idea. I suppose if Fernando Alonso doesn't race in 2025, looking ahead a long way, maybe he's in the running. But even then, they're not going to want a young guy coming in and blowing away young Lance. So did I say young Lance? He's actually been around a long time now, hasn't he? Blowing away the son of the owner of the team, let's put it that way. And the Strolls can quite rightly say, well, if it wasn't for us, there wouldn't be a team for Drugovich to be testing anyway. I think it's a sad indictment, actually, of Formula One that none of the top teams saw the talent in Drugovich and put him under contract, and that he was obliged really to take the only deal out there, which was to buy this position with Aston Martin, which is not right. I mean, this guy has a serious amount of talent, and we need a Brazilian in Formula One as well. I'm surprised that Liberty didn't get more behind it as well. Anyway, there he is, P2 in FP1. Look at that, George Russell, who looked very good, I've got to say, running the Mercedes team, if you like, with Frederick Vesti and Lewis Hamilton's car. George had a really good morning, did a lot of good runs on the soft tyre, then went out right at the end on the medium, did a nice fuel run as well. Quickest whenever he was out, dominated the session, really. Okay, neither Max nor Sergio Perez were there, and nor was Charles Leclerc. But nonetheless, George Russell looking good in the Mercedes. And Felipe Drugovich second overall in FP1. Really good performance and good to see. So that was it for a rather strange Friday for drivers like Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton having to give their cars up in FP1. And then in FP2, only effectively doing 25 minutes of running. Very, very condensed session. 2 red flags. The other red flag was Nico Hülkenberg, who lost it coming out of the first corner. Rather strange basic shunt that he had, just lost it on the curbs, on acceleration, lost the back end and went off into the Tech Pro barrier. Haas, of course, employing 2 experienced drivers, so they never have incidents like this. Yeah. Anyway, it's the last race of the year. Let's hope they can laugh it off. So that was Friday. Big thanks to Jetcraft and Pitbox.io. Let's see what happens on Saturday. Take care. See you then.